A brief introduction to EP calipers. EP calipers is available for Apple, iOS, or Android devices. Here we're running on an iPad simulator. The device is turned into landscape orientation just for the purpose of this demo. You can obviously use whatever orientation you like to run the app. This is the initial screen with a sample electrocardiogram already loaded. The point of the app is to make measurements on EKG recordings or EP recordings. The electronic calipers are similar to the ones used in the EP lab and will be familiar to electrophysiologists. To anyone else, they are very easy to use, as we shall demonstrate. The use cases for this app would include situations in which you want to review an EKG that has been emailed or texted to you, say to measure the QT interval to make other measurements and to make measurements that are more accurate than you can make using a mechanical pair of calipers on an EKG recorded on paper. In this demo, I'm using a trackpad on my computer to operate the app, but on your phone or tablet you would use your finger. Here you see one pair of calipers, which we can move around like so, and we can stretch or narrow like that. You see the measurement is in an arbitrary set of units called points, which is related to number of screen pixels. This is what happens when you start making new measurements or when you load the app. In order to make actual measurements, we first need to calibrate the calipers. We only need to do this once per electrocardiogram. So we can tap on Calibrate. Now we're going to set the calipers to a known interval. We can use 1,000 milliseconds or 1 second. So let's just do that. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That's 1,000 milliseconds. We hit set, and there comes up a dialog box with the interval that you're measuring. It just so happens to be 1,000 milliseconds, but if you measure a different interval, you can type in whatever you want. We'll set it. And now we have a calibrated pair of calipers set at 1,000 milliseconds that we can move around and make measurements between RR intervals, for example. And now that we've calibrated the calipers, we have some other options on the menu bar. We can switch between interval to heart rate and back again. We can measure a mean interval. This is particularly good if someone's in atrial fibrillation. So say we do that, we'll stretch this over 3 intervals, for example, and hit mean interval. We have it as 3 here, but obviously if you do another number of intervals, you just fill in whatever you're doing, calculate, and the app gives you the mean interval and the mean heart rate. Now, you can have more than one set of calipers. You can add calipers using the plus sign, and you can add either time calipers, which are horizontal, like this. And once you add calipers that are after you've calibrated, the new calipers are also calibrated. Or you can add a amplitude caliper, which isn't calibrated at this point, but we'll go ahead and calibrate it. We'll make it, say, 10 millimeters, which looks like that. Calibrate it, set it, 10 millimeters, set it. Now with this pair of calipers, we can measure the amplitude of QRS complexes and figure out left ventricular hypertrophy and things like that. To get rid of calipers, we double click, and now we're back to one caliper again. Now, how did this EKG get in here? Well, to load images or to adjust the images, you have to switch the mode of the app to image mode. So we switch up here. Now we're in image mode. Now the calipers don't move, but if we move the with our finger, this tap on the screen or move, we move the EKG, the image. We can zoom it with a pinch to zoom, which is simulated with the simulator like this. So we can make things bigger. We can load another EKG by either hitting the camera icon to take a photo right away, of an EKG that's right in front of you. Or we can hit select to select an EKG that's already in your photo gallery. Say someone already emailed you an EKG and you saved it to your photo gallery. Sometimes EKGs aren't lined up as perfectly as they are here, so we can adjust the EKG. Sometimes they're upside down or flipped. We can flip them or reset them. Sometimes they're just a little out of kilter and we can just tweak them a little bit one way or the other so that they line up better with the calipers. And I'll reset that. Now we'll go back to the caliper mode, and let's do one more thing. We're going to measure a QT interval. So to do that, you have to make two measurements. You have to measure the R to R interval, and you have to measure the QT interval, and then get the corrected QT from that. So we'll go ahead and measure an RR interval here. Measure that one. So we'll go to QTC and say RR interval. We'll measure this one here. And again, you can measure more than one. Here we're just measuring one, so I'll just change this to one interval. Calculate. That's step one. Step two is to make a QT interval measurement. So we'll go ahead and actually, I think we'll use this one up here in AVR. We'll just go to the end of the QT, which again, when you zoom these EKGs up, you can make pretty accurate measurements. So that's the QT. We make the measurement, and it gives us a summary with the RR, the QT, and the calculated QT using Bazette's formula. So that's, I think, pretty useful. The only other thing I'll demonstrate is that there's a help screen, which you go through to up here, which provides more detailed help. And other than that, that's about it. The app is available from EP Studios. It's available both on Google Play and on the Apple App Store. The website is listed below. So thank you for your attention.